On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, bound for Beijing. Aboard were 239 people, passengers and crew from 15 different nations. The Boeing 777-200ER was a state-of-the-art aircraft, a symbol of modern aviation's reliability and safety. The weather was clear, the skies calm. Everything seemed routine. But within hours, this routine flight would become one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. At 1:19 a.m. local time, the cockpit made its final communication with air traffic control. "Good night, Malaysian 370. The words were calm, unremarkable. There was no hint of distress, no warning of trouble. Yet, just minutes later, the plane vanished from radar screens. It wasn't a gradual fade. It was as if the aircraft had been plucked from the sky. Military radar would later detect the plane deviating from its planned route, making a sharp turn to the west, but by then it was already too late. MH370 was gone. The disappearance triggered an unprecedented international search effort. Dozens of countries, including Malaysia, China, the United States, and Australia, mobilized ships, planes, and satellites to scour the vast Indian Ocean. The search area spanned millions of square miles, a testament to the sheer scale of the mystery. How could a 209-foot-long, 600,000-pound aircraft simply disappear in an age where every smartphone can be tracked in real time? Initial theories focused on technical failures. Could a catastrophic event, like an explosion or sudden decompression, have caused the plane to crash? Investigators examined the possibility of a fire, a mechanical malfunction, or even a hijacking. But no debris was found in the immediate vicinity of the plane's last known location. The lack of evidence only deepened the mystery. Then came the satellite data. In the days following the disappearance, investigators pieced together fragments of information from a satellite communication system known as Inmarsat. The data suggested that MH370 had flown for hours after losing contact, far off its intended course. The plane had made a series of deliberate turns, eventually heading south into one of the most remote regions of the Indian Ocean. But why? And who was at the controls? Theories began to swirl. Some pointed to the pilots, suggesting that one of them had intentionally diverted the plane. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a seasoned pilot with over 18,000 hours of the flight experience, came under scrutiny. Was this a case of pilot suicide? Others speculated about a hijacking, though no group claimed responsibility and no demands were made. More outlandish theories emerged, ranging from alien abductions to secret government experiments. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the world watched in disbelief. Families of the passengers and crew demanded answers, but none came. The search teams found nothing. No wreckage, no black boxes, no bodies. The ocean seemed to have swallowed MH370 whole. But then, in July 2015, a piece of debris washed ashore on Réunion Island, a French territory in the Indian Ocean. It was a flaperon, a component of the plane's wing, and it bore the serial number of MH370. Over the next 2 years, more debris would be found along the coasts of Africa and Indian Ocean islands, confirming that the plane had indeed crashed into the sea. Yet these discoveries raised more questions than answers. Why was the debris scattered so far apart? What caused the plane to go down? And why had it taken so long to find even a single piece? The disappearance of MH370 wasn't just a tragedy. It was a riddle that challenged everything we thought we knew about modern aviation. It exposed the limits of technology, the fragility of human life, and the unsettling possibility that some secrets may never be uncovered. As the search for answers continued, one thing became clear. The truth about MH370 was far more elusive and far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 triggered one of the largest and most expensive search operations in aviation history. Within hours of the plane vanishing from radar, a multinational effort involving over 24 countries was launched. Ships, planes, and satellites scoured vast stretches of the Indian Ocean, while investigators on land sifted through data, hoping to uncover the truth. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the mystery only deepened. The first clue came from military radar. Unlike civilian radar, which lost contact with MH370 after its final communication, military systems tracked the plane, making a sharp turn to the west, deviating from its planned route to Beijing. This unexpected maneuver suggested human intervention. Someone had taken control of the aircraft. But who? And why? The turn was deliberate, calculated, and eerily precise, ruling out the possibility of a sudden mechanical failure. As the search expanded, investigators turned to satellite data for answers. A British satellite communications company, Inmarsat, provided critical information about the plane's final hours. By analyzing a series of automated pings sent from the aircraft to a satellite, experts determined that MH370 had flown for nearly 7 hours after losing contact. The plane had traveled south, deep into the remote southern Indian Ocean, far from any landing strip or safe harbor. This revelation was both astonishing and chilling. How could a commercial airliner fly undetected for so long? And what was its final destination? The search area became a sprawling, chaotic puzzle. The southern Indian Ocean is one of the most remote and inhospitable regions on Earth, with depths reaching over 23,000 feet and currents that scatter debris across thousands of miles. Despite the deployment of advanced technology, sonar systems, underwater drones, and high-resolution satellite imagery, the search teams found nothing. No wreckage, no debris, no sign of the 239 people on board. The ocean seemed to guard its secrets fiercely. Then, in July 2015, a breakthrough, or so it seemed. A piece of debris washed ashore on Réunion Island, a French territory in the western Indian Ocean. It was a flaperon, a component of the plane's wing, and it bore the serial number of MH370. For the first time, there was tangible evidence that the plane had crashed into the ocean. Over the next 2 years, more debris would be found along the coasts of Africa and Indian Ocean islands, including a wing fragment, a piece of the tail, and a section of the cabin interior. Each discovery confirmed that MH370 had met a tragic end in the water. But the debris raised more questions than answers. Why was it scattered across such a vast area? What caused the plane to break apart? And why had it taken over a year to find the first piece? The location of the debris also contradicted early search efforts, which had focused on areas further north. Had the search teams been looking in the wrong place all along? Behind the scenes, investigators faced another challenge: the black boxes. These devices, which record cockpit conversations and flight data, are designed to emit a signal for up to 30 days after a crash. But by the time search teams narrowed down the likely crash zone, the black boxes had gone silent. Without them, critical questions about the plane's final moments remained unanswered. What happened in the cockpit? Was there a struggle? Did the pilots attempt to regain control? As the search dragged on, theories began to emerge, some plausible, others wildly speculative. One theory suggested that the plane had been hijacked and flown to a remote location, possibly for use in a future terrorist attack. Another pointed to the possibility of a fire or catastrophic mechanical failure that incapacitated the crew. Yet another theory proposed that the plane had been shot down, either accidentally or intentionally by a military power. But without concrete evidence, these theories remained just that, theories. The search for MH370 became a symbol of human perseverance and the limits of technology. Despite the best efforts of scientists, engineers, and search crews, the plane's final resting place remained elusive. The families of the victims, desperate for closure, were left in agonizing limbo. Governments and aviation experts faced mounting pressure to explain how a modern airliner could vanish without a trace in the 21st century. But as the world grappled with these questions, a darker possibility began to emerge. What if the truth about MH370 was being hidden? What if there were forces at play, governments, corporations, or individuals, who didn't want the full story to come to light? The search for answers was far from over, and the deeper investigators dug, the more they realized that the mystery of MH370 was not just about a missing plane. It was about the secrets that some would go to great lengths to protect. As the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 stretched into years, the lack of definitive answers gave rise to a flood of theories, some grounded in evidence, others veering into the realm of conspiracy. While official investigations pointed to a tragic accident, many began to question whether the truth was being obscured. What if the disappearance of MH370 wasn't just a case of mechanical failure or human error? What if there were forces at play that didn't want the world to know what really happened? One of the most widely discussed theories centered on the plane's captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah. A veteran pilot with over 18,000 hours of flight experience, Shah was described by colleagues as highly skilled and professional. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered troubling details. Shah's home flight simulator revealed that he had practiced a flight path eerily similar to the one MH370 ultimately took, a route deep into the southern Indian Ocean. Was this a coincidence or evidence of premeditation? Some speculated that Shah had intentionally crashed the plane in an act of mass murder-suicide, but others questioned this narrative. Why would a respected pilot with no known history of mental illness or personal grievances commit such an unthinkable act? And why were there no distress signals or final messages from the cockpit? Another theory pointed to the possibility of a hijacking. While no group claimed responsibility and no demands were made, some experts suggested that the plane could have been commandeered by someone with extensive knowledge of aviation systems. The deliberate turns and the disabling of the plane's communication system seemed to indicate a level of expertise. But who could have orchestrated such a hijacking, and to what end? Some speculated that the plane was carrying something or someone of immense value, making it a target for a covert operation. Others raised the chilling possibility that the plane had been hijacked and flown to a remote location, its passengers and crew held hostage or worse. Then there was the theory of military involvement. In the days following the disappearance, reports surfaced that MH370 had flown near restricted airspace controlled by several nations including Malaysia, Thailand, and the United States. Could the plane have been mistaken for a threat and shot down? Or had it inadvertently crossed into a classified military operation? Proponents of this theory pointed to the lack of transparency from certain governments and the unusual silence from military radar systems that should have detected the plane. If MH370 had been shot down, either accidentally or intentionally, it would explain the swift disappearance and the reluctance to release certain details. But without concrete evidence, this theory remained speculative. Perhaps the most controversial theory involved the plane's cargo. MH370 was carrying more than just passengers and their luggage. It was also transporting a shipment of lithium-ion batteries and other electronics. Some experts suggested that these batteries could have caused a catastrophic fire, incapacitating the crew and leading to the plane's demise. But others went further, proposing that the cargo included something far more sensitive: classified technology, weapons, or even diplomatic materials. If true, it would explain why certain governments might have an interest in suppressing the full story. Could the disappearance of MH370 have been a cover-up for something far more sinister? As these theories circulated, they were met with skepticism and dismissal by official investigators. Yet the lack of definitive answers kept them alive in the public imagination. Families of the victims, desperate for closure, found themselves caught between hope and despair. Was their loved one's fate tied to a tragic accident or something more nefarious? And why were so many questions left unanswered? Theories aside, one thing was clear: the disappearance of MH370 had exposed the fragility of modern aviation systems and the limits of human knowledge. In an age where technology can track a package across the globe in real time, how could a 209-foot-long airliner vanish without a trace? The more investigators searched, the more they realized that the truth about MH370 might be far more complex and far more unsettling than anyone had imagined. As the world grappled with these questions, a darker narrative began to emerge. What if the disappearance of MH370 wasn't just a tragedy, but a warning? What if it revealed the existence of secrets so powerful that they had to be buried at the bottom of the ocean? The search for answers was far from over, and the deeper investigators dug, the more they realized that the mystery of MH370 was not just about a missing plane. It was about the lengths some would go to keep the truth hidden. Years have passed since Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 vanished into the night. Yet, the mystery remains unsolved. The official investigations have concluded, the search efforts have been scaled back, and the world has largely moved on. But, for the families of the 239 souls on board, and for those who refuse to accept the official narrative, the questions linger. What really happened to MH370? And why does it feel like the truth is being kept just out of reach? The official explanation, that the plane crashed into the southern Indian Ocean due to a catastrophic event, possibly linked to the pilot or mechanical failure, has done little to satisfy the public's hunger for answers. Too many inconsistencies, too many unanswered questions, and too many shadows cast by governments and corporations have left room for doubt. The deeper you dig into the story of MH370, the more it becomes clear. This isn't just a story about a missing plane. It's a story about power, secrecy, and the lengths to which some will go to protect their interests. One of the most troubling aspects of the MH370 case is the lack of transparency from the very beginning. Why were key pieces of information, such as military radar data, withheld for days after the plane disappeared? Why were certain governments reluctant to share intelligence or cooperate fully with the investigation? And why were some of the plane's maintenance records and cargo manifests never made public? These omissions have fueled speculation that there was more to MH370's disappearance than meets the eye. Then there's the role of technology, or rather its failure. In an age where we can track a smartphone to within a few feet, how could a state-of-the-art airliner simply vanish? The plane's communication systems were deliberately disabled, but by whom? And why? The fact that no distress signal was ever sent suggests that whoever took control of the plane knew exactly what they were doing. Was this the work of a rogue pilot, a hijacker, or something far more sophisticated? The discovery of debris along the coasts of Africa and Indian Ocean islands provided some closure, but it also raised new questions. Why were the pieces found so far apart? Why did it take over a year for the first piece to surface? And why were some of the debris items, such as the flaperon, found to have damage patterns that didn't align with a typical crash scenario? Some experts have suggested that the debris could have been planted to divert attention from the plane's true fate. Others believe that the debris tells a story of a controlled ditching, rather than a high-speed impact. But without the black boxes, which remain lost in the ocean's depths, these questions may never be answered. Perhaps the most chilling possibility is that MH370 was carrying something, or someone, that made it a target. The plane's cargo included lithium-ion batteries, which are known to pose a fire risk, but it also carried a shipment of mangosteens, a tropical fruit. While this seems innocuous, some have speculated that the cargo manifest was incomplete or falsified. Could MH370 have been transporting something far more valuable or dangerous? Classified technology, sensitive documents, or even a high-profile individual? If so, it would explain why certain parties might have wanted the plane to disappear, and why they might have gone to great lengths to ensure it stayed that way. The role of governments and corporations in the MH370 saga cannot be ignored. From the beginning, there were signs of a coordinated effort to control the narrative. Key witnesses were silenced, documents were classified, and certain lines of inquiry were abruptly shut down. Even the search efforts seemed to follow a strange pattern, with resources being diverted away from areas where debris was later found. Was this incompetence or something more deliberate? And why were independent investigators and journalists who dug too deeply into the case often met with resistance, or worse? As the years have passed, the mystery of MH370 has taken on a life of its own. It has become a symbol of our collective unease in an increasingly interconnected world. It reminds us that, despite our technological advancements, there are still forces beyond our control, and truths that remain hidden. For the families of the victims, the pain of not knowing is unbearable. For the rest of the world, the case of MH370 serves as a haunting reminder that some secrets are buried too deep to ever be uncovered. But perhaps the greatest secret of all is this: the truth about MH370 may not be lost. It may be out there, waiting to be discovered, hidden in the depths of the ocean, locked away in classified files, or whispered among those who know more than they're willing to say. Until that truth comes to light, the story of MH370 will remain unfinished, a mystery that continues to captivate, terrify, and inspire. And so, the search goes on. Not just for the wreckage of a plane, but for the answers that have been denied to us. The truth about MH370 is out there. The question is, are we ready to face it?